don't be obsessed about revenue when it comes to product partners or tech partners, at least at first. When a good relationship is set, the integration or integrations are in place and customers are happy about that, that's when you need to start talking about the big scary co-sale talks. But if you start with that, I think that's maybe looking at it from the wrong angle and you sometimes miss out.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Partnerships Unlocked, where we have fast tactical conversations with the best partner leaders in the game. I'm very excited today to have Nadav from one of the hottest companies in the world and one of the biggest acquisitions that Google has ever made, a company called Wiz that you might have heard of. Nadav, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Yes, thank you for having me, Greg. That's a great opportunity. I appreciate it. I'm Nadav. I live in Tel Aviv. I've been at Wiz for the past 4 years, doing partnerships, starting with cloud partnerships, then moving to doing product partnerships. Happy to talk more about that. Previously, I was also working at another company called Granulate, which was acquired by Intel, running their cloud partnerships. This was the first time I was introduced to this world. Prior to that, I did some more technical roles, and ever since I heard and learned about partnerships, it became sort of like an obsession. Going from channel partners to cloud partners to tech partners to AI partners now. It's been an exciting journey, and I'm happy to talk to you and anyone from the industry about this crazy trend. So thank you for having me.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, very excited. I think you're going to bring a unique perspective compared to some of the other guests that we've had. So jumping right into that, we'd like to start with like what's one strategy or play, a tactic that you've run in your programs, either at Wiz or previously. Maybe you've done it more than once that just has worked really, really well for you. And why do you think that it worked and kind of what did it teach you?
Okay, cool. So, like I said, in the past few years, I was more focused on product partnerships, tech alliances, and I'm a big fan. I think this is something that many companies, I don't know if miss out on, but maybe not invest enough in because that's really, I think, where maybe the future of PLG, like product-led growth companies, should focus their partner strategy on. And I think one thing that Wiz did, which was very smart, is that we started treating product integrations or product partnerships, which are basically integrations with third-party vendors, like product features, like they were actually part of our product roadmap. We got our PMs to be dedicated to a specific integration, and we got them connected with their counterparts on the other side of the integration. And so, maybe another thing that we did, and these are combined, is that we took a programmatic approach when approaching those tech partners. Because when you're a big platform like Wiz, and if some of the listeners don't know what Wiz is a cloud security platform, basically allowing users to secure everything they build and run on the cloud and other environments. And when you're providing such a product, that's basically a platform with hundreds of different use cases, meaning hundreds of different potential partners from a technical side. And so at first, everyone wanted to integrate with Wiz, and which is a good problem to have. But very quickly, we realized that we can't really do one-off integrations. It doesn't scale. It became messy. And so instead of that, we stepped back and we said, okay, we need to make this programmatic. And we came up with something called the Wiz Integration Network. That's WIN. And basically the idea is very simple. Instead of every integration being a custom effort with different expectations and processes, we built a real framework around it, like onboarding, technical standards. If you're a WIN partner, you get access to our API, our docs, our service account. We created a partner portal, by the way, around the story of PRMs and partner portals is something that is becoming very important these days. And we basically built a framework for how to launch, market, and support integrations with Wiz. And so we treated integrations like they belong in the roadmap, in the product roadmap. Our VP of product was heavily involved. And once we did that, things started to scale a lot more naturally. Partners knew what to expect. Internally, it was also easier to prioritize, and we could actually support a lot more integrations without burning the team out. And so I think honestly the biggest shift wasn't even operational. It was just the mindset. Once you think of integrations as product features, everything changes. because it really becomes part of the core of the company and not just a side hustle. And I think also once you have that scale of partners through a partner program like Win, you can also reach to do a lot of go-to-market activities around that. For us, every integration is a potential blog post, a webinar, a session. We go live on on stages of the big flagship conferences with our partners. We host our technical partners on our booths on reInvent or Ignite or Google Next or RSA to do a demo of the integration, which tracks a lot more audience, because now it's not just Wiz or the platform of Wiz, it's Wiz plus X. You think X, you think of all big ISVs out there that we integrated with, and this also is projected to leadership. It helps create a strong ecosystem for every company that wants to either be acquired or IPO'd. Those relationships matter, and I think once you treat that as part of your roadmap and you take a programmatic approach, really the sky is the limit.
I mean, I love that, and it's interesting. The first technology company I ever really worked at and did partnerships at, we were very integration forward, and a lot of our partner program was based on integrations, and it was that exact same approach of like, yes, we could theoretically build everything in house. We have developers, but is that a good use of resources? And is there so much more value that can be derived from integrating a best-in-class software and opening yourself up to their customer base, the increased usage of two best-in-class solutions together, the increased stickiness and usage for both teams' customers, and then, of course, to your point, like how do we actually go to market together, right? Now we can do webinars. Now their audience is our audience, and we can blend marketing budgets and do things together at conferences. Is there any specific kind of outcomes or even a specific partnership that you would highlight or integration that you would highlight of like, we did this and it just drove this amazing outcome, whether it was direct revenue or customer retention or anything that the business was like, oh, wow, like the thing that helped you really sell this strategy internally. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I can give a very recent one. It's also public, so I'm happy to share about it. Databricks, for example. And so we built this internal process where our sales teams and our customer success team, whenever a customer asks for a specific integration, like Wiz is basically a scanning solution. So we scan different environments, starting with cloud environments. And then a bunch of customers started asking our sales teams if Wiz can scan their data lakes on Databricks. And the answer originally was no, of course, because you need to build that. And so we created an internal process where they can basically comment this feedback from field to the product team. That's where the product partnership team comes into play. We try to mitigate between those two really different teams, and then we prioritize that. And so once we saw that dozens and dozens of customers are asking Wiz to be able to scan that Databricks, the old-fashioned way would be to maybe, I don't know, purchase a license and start developing a connector and just making this available. But the better way to our philosophy is reaching out to Databricks, submitting to their partner program, but doing even more than that, trying to create, an executive alignment, like you said, an alignment on the marketing side, on the product side. The integration would be developed faster if we would have, a better relationship between our PM to the Databricks PM, our engineering team with the Databricks in the engineering team, and then this is maybe phase 0, and then phase 1 is actually when we launched the partnership. We like making noise, so we went out with a public announcement about a partnership with Databricks, with blog posts from both sides, with quotes from both sides, and then some sales alignment after that, and then next week is. This week actually is Databricks Data and AI Summit. It's a huge conference. We took a sponsorship. We're going on stage telling the world about this partnership. And then we also have a plan for the upcoming quarters. And that's just one partner. And so if you take that, and of course you have to prioritize, because now we're about to have 300 certified partners on the Win program, which is crazy to think. 3 years ago we had nothing. But that's just one partner. And so you can also prioritize how you work with partners based on feedback that the partners give to you from their field and from their customers, or from your field, or just your product roadmap. And it makes the relationship so much stronger, and it's so many common interests that you can actually work on once you have this relationship, once the bridge is built. And so this is one example out of almost 300, but I'm happy to share more. It's really
No,
exciting.
I mean that's an amazing one. Databricks is obviously a very well-known company. They have a massive audience of their own, and so no, I love that. And also, like, I think folks are kind of wondering. Probably the question behind a lot of people's minds right now is how do you how do you rally all of those different resources? Because you just described a lot of different activities, right? You obviously you need marketing for that. You need the events team for that. You need the PR team for that. You need so many different folks cross-functionally inside of the business to actually do everything you just described. How did you really kind of like rally that cross-functional alignment?
So it takes, I think we're at a point where it still takes some education, not just, industry education, but like in company education. And I can say Wiz is probably the most dynamic and vibrant company I'll work in, or maybe have worked in. And still, we still had to work, towards building the right organization to support that. For example, we didn't always have a partner marketing resource. We didn't always have a dedicated product marketing resource to work with tech partners. We do now. And once, if I'm talking marketing, for example, once the marketing organization as a whole understands the value that we can create from the partner marketing activities, if you do a webinar alone, or if you do a webinar with a speaker from AWS, Google, Microsoft, or from a tech partner, or from a big GSI, that changes the numbers completely, and the quality of the leads and the quality of the content. And so once it took a while to get the entire organization to be educated. But Wiz, fortunately to me, Wiz is a very partner first company. And so it was, it took less time than usual. But once you align the internal teams, not only marketing, legal, product, finance, procurement, you need to be, there's so many vendors you need to work with, and you need to have relationship with, of course, leadership and executive level. And so once you show the value of the activities that you do with the partners, the organization understands the value, and you can, it becomes the best practice. And so I think this is what we did with partners. It took a while. Now we're at a point where everybody understands that, and even wants to work with partners even more, especially big logos like Databricks. Anthropic is another partner we just announced our partnership with last week, and etc. etc. Everyone can check out the integrations on the Wiz website. I urge you to do that. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of people reaching out to you, basically asking for advice on this because it's one of the areas where I think it's always kind of an uphill battle because you have to rally all those other resources we just discussed. But maybe the hardest thing of all is you actually have to get your product teams bought in on this, and product teams are notoriously insular, and especially I think maybe now more than ever, just are uh, I mean, we experience this just like, hey, no, we can build this ourselves. We don't need a
Yeah.
we don't need to integrate. So I know the challenge of that. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Jumping into one of the more fun questions, which is like, what is something that you attempted that did not work? And not like it was a, long shot Hail Mary, like we're gonna try it out, but we know it probably won't work. Like, do you have something that you're like that you thought, hey, for all intents and purposes, for all logical reasons, this should work, but it didn't work and you learned a valuable lesson from it?
Okay, so I have an unpopular one, but bear with me. Is don't be obsessed about revenue when it comes to product partners or tech partners. At least at first, like if I see many partners, even partners that I'm working with, or our own philosophy at first is like, okay, how can I create the fastest revenue track out of this relationship? But sometimes, or most of the times, at least from my experience, those partnerships should start from again, product led growth, or a product led way of thinking, because at the end of the day, the customers who are asking for those integrations, this is what they want. And most of the products today are very technical, very very large, with so many use cases. At the end of the day, when a customer or customers especially the big ones, are asking for a specific capability with a third party, you should first focus on how do I deliver this capability, and maybe then add on top of that the revenue piece. I can also prove that revenue comes naturally after that. But if you try to co-sell with the partner even before you have an integration in place, or try to think of a rev share model, or like a bundle of those two solutions together before the customer needs are being deployed even on the technical level. From our experience, or from my experience specifically, it didn't really work well because most bundles are usually made up or are just not the right fit. Co-sell is great when you have incentives like with the cloud providers, but when you don't and you need to educate an entire sales organization, it's sometimes hard. I'm not saying it's not a good thing to do if it aligns and if it makes sense. Of course, there's many strategic partners that have a rev share model and have a bundle offering which works well. But in most cases, start with the integration, have the technical pieces put in place, track the adoption and the customer feedback from those integrations, and maybe then inject the revenue piece into that. And again, partners who integrate with you can sometimes or many times become customers because the relationships is in place, and so that's one revenue angle. Our partners, they do a lot of marketing activities with Wiz. They sponsor our events and parties. It's not necessarily revenue from your product, but that's another way to count dollars from partner relationships. And then the last piece to close out of that is, when a good relationship is set, the integration or integrations are in place and customers are happy about that, that's when you need to start talking about the big scary co-sale talks. But if you start with that, I think that's maybe looking at it from the wrong angle, and you sometimes miss out.
Yeah. I mean, it's like that's a great call out, and I think that that's always a some of the push that you get from whoever is the leadership of, well, if we're going to do this, what's the revenue associated with it? Um, I remember when I was building my program, we used to actually kind of score it based on like why we were losing deals. We would look at like what capabilities we were possibly missing and losing deals over missing, or kind of what gaps we felt like maybe we were losing customers for. Anything that was like really, maybe it wasn't net new revenue, but maybe it was revenue that we were losing in one way or another, either in pipeline or in the customer base. And then like kind of mapping like, okay, well, what are these requests? And maybe like scoring them and realizing, oh, well, I mean, now here's all this revenue that we would recover or retain if we had this capability. Or on the flip side, use a crossbeam, do the account mapping and say, hey, if this is successful, we now access this customer base, and this customer base has a potential value of X millions of dollars to us, right? There's definitely ways to quantify it, but
Yeah.
trying to like commercialize it too soon is like, it's like building a completely new feature and trying to get people to pay for it before you've even had like beta testers, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
No,
data is
that's
everything, especially when it comes to tech partners. Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. No, that's why I love being data driven about it. That's a really, really good call out that nobody has brought up on this podcast yet. So I'm glad you said it. Awesome. Well, then, are there two or three other kind of like unlocks, just in general in your partnerships career that you just wish you knew sooner?
Yeah, I'll start with one from the product partnership world, but it basically is relevant, I think, for all types of partners. Maybe splitting partners into two categories: inbound and outbound. This is something that we learned along the way. So you need to operate differently when a customer is asking for a specific integration, and you need to operate differently from, for example, like a programmatic approach when a partner is reaching out to you. So that's once you separate that into what's my inbound processes and strategy, and what's my outbound processes and strategy, and those are two different, completely different things. You also treat partnerships, I think, the right way, because partnerships should start from the customers and not the partners. Like if a partner is reaching out to me and has this great pitch and it sounds awesome, but none of my customers or prospects are asking for it specifically at this time, of my company life, maybe that's not the best thing to invest my time in, and maybe that's when they should go to the inbound process and they do the heavy lifting. Not that I'm taking responsibility off of myself. It's just a matter of prioritization. And so when you treat partnerships as a customer first, like everything else in the company, but when you look at partnerships from a customer first perspective, you can actually split the work and focus on what matters most. And maybe another unlock that I'm learning, on the go myself right now is, it used to be, at least from my perspective, three types of partners. I would say channel partners, which includes, resell from the, the local reseller all the way up to the system integrators and big GSIs. The second is maybe the cloud partnerships. The third is tech alliances. Now there's the AI partnerships, which usually were injected into product partnerships, but I would separate that. This is what we're trying to do right now. Look at AI as like of course, the thing that is reshaping the world, and what types of AI companies are there. There's the frontier labs, there's the AI infrastructure companies, the vibe coding platforms, etc., etc. And look at your product and where does your partner strategy fits in all of them, and take advantage of the fact that it's still very new. Like I gave an example for Anthropic, they're still building their partner organization. Everybody wants to be a partner of Anthropic, of OpenAI, of XAI. And so that's something that really should be part of the partner strategy, if not today, then yesterday, and be treated as a different type of partner or partners, and looking at your product strategy, seeing your AI story or narrative yourself, and then starting to reach out to those companies as early as possible to build the new era of AI partnerships is something that we're still learning, as we go, but already are seeing the results, and it's something that really, is worth our time, as opposed to maybe the old world of partnerships and the three avenues that we talked about.
I think that's great. And it actually, I'm going to ask you a bonus question because that made me think of something
Yeah.
that you might be suited to answer, which is it feels like now with AI, the value of partnerships, or sorry, the value of integrations almost changes kind of meaningfully in a way because previously it was about user interfaces, right? User interfaces and obviously passing data between systems. But now the user interfaces are kind of like fading away. Everyone's got an MCP, and now it's really about, or I believe it's about, and I'd like to hear your perspective. It seems like it's now going to be much more about like, how do we commingle our data sets
Yeah.
and how do these data sets talk to each other to create a much more valuable either outcome or insight than you could previously do with them separated. Would you say that's accurate?
That's definitely accurate. It actually touches, the thing is I'm trying to be focused on today. Once we finished building our MCP, like the day after, we had a meeting of, what's the partner strategy behind the Wiz MCP? What can we do that's more immediate to, to tell the world about our MCP and connect the MCP with other MCPs or other products that is relevant for how do we onboard, yeah, like create listings on the different marketplaces that we're in for MCPs. Now there's a new trend to create like AI agent marketplaces for in the cloud providers, or generally creating AI agent marketplaces. Cisco announced their own a couple of days ago. We took part of that launch partnership as well, and so MCPs, AI agents, everybody builds them, and everybody when they build them, they are looking for third parties to either pull data or push data to them, or just connect to them if it's an MCP or an agent that you can tag a third party and ask that agent a question from this third party, and it needs to pull the data from. And so you want to be at the places where people are launching AI agent marketplaces or just agent platforms. And so that's part of the previous unlock I was talking about, like trying to look at AI as a change that also happens in the partnership world, and maybe more focus on that than the other opportunities, because that's where our customers and ourselves are going to be very, very soon. And so definitely, and I'm modestly saying that I'm still learning as I go, and so I'm happy to also talk about that with anyone that wants to, and learn from them, and try to maybe share from my experience.
That's
Okay.
awesome. Well, I'm glad I asked that question because I think it's something that a lot of people are talking about and thinking about now. And it's very pertinent with regards to like just how product partnerships should be set up. It's probably one of the more fun times I think to be building product partnerships.
I agree, and I think it's still, not even at the top, at the peak of the trend. And I see more and more product partnership positions open up, which is exciting. I see more and more founders, being curious about how to build their partnership strategy in general, but specifically their tech integrations network, and it's really exciting. And I'm looking forward to see, where this goes in the future.
Likewise, likewise. Well, Nadav, thank you so much. I know it's late where you are, and we had some scheduling issues. I'm so glad we were able to make this happen. This was such a unique perspective, as expected. We haven't had nearly as many product partnership leaders like yourself, let alone from such an interesting company. So I'm really glad we got to chat. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for this opportunity, Greg. It's been awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, chat soon.